the seventh lecture on Schrödinger equation. Today we will discuss the postulates of quantum mechanics. In the last few classes, we were discussing the facts related to the Schrödinger equation, and we have stated few assumptions one after another for the development of the subject, and applied those simultaneously with suitable example to make the theory clear. Today we shall put forward the assumptions of quantum mechanics in a systematic way. We know that any subject starts with some few assumptions are called postulates, which cannot be proved, but their validity depends on the reconciliation of the experiment with the theoretical prediction. Exactly in the case of quantum mechanics, the postulates cannot be proved, but the theory that it predicts, so long as it matches with the experiment, the postulates are treated to be the correct one. First one is the Bose correspondence principle. We have seen earlier that if we want to have a differential equation for the wave associated for the differential equation to describe the de Broglie wave associated with a particle, then one need to have a differential equation describing this wave function. To develop the wave function, we came across the requirement that the dynamical variables has to be replaced by the operators. Since the operator the dynamical variables in classical mechanics, which we can directly measure, are real quantities, so the operators has to be Hermitian operator. This is the Bose correspondence principle. That is, if we have a classical expression, then in the classical expression we replace the dynamical variables by the corresponding operators. How to construct the operators? We know the expression for the position operator, momentum operator, and the energy operator. In position space, I specify this case position space. In position space, the position operator is x, the momentum operator is minus IH cross del del x, and the energy operator is plus IH cross del del t. How to construct other operators? If we stick to the Hamiltonian formulation of classical mechanics, then it says that any dynamical variable related to the system can be expressed in terms of q's and p's. As for example, let us consider angular momentum L of a particle, which is given by r cross p, with its x component is ypz minus zpx. So in quantum mechanics, it will be L operator square, L vector square, R vector cross P vector, and this will be Lx operator is equal to Y operator Pz operator minus Z operator Py operator. In classical expression, one can interchange the order of y, pz, and similarly of the second term, but this involves operators, so the order must be maintained. So this is the way we construct all the operators. One may come across situation where the operator the quantity that we come across doesn't have any classical analog, as the case of spin. Then one have to adopt some ad hoc prescription to describe the quantity related to this. We know that L operator is this, and afterwards we will see that we will be looking after the simultaneous eigenvalues of L operator and Lz operator, and the similar quantity is taken care of in the case of spin, and this is Z operator. Experiment shows that the value of Sz is plus minus h cross by 2, which is taken care of, and one takes spin in the theory. Since in quantum mechanics we are dealing with operators, the commutator relation is very important. In classical mechanics, two quantity A and B commutes, so that AB is equal to BA. But for two operators, this may not be the case always. So these are the basic commutator relation, and all other commutator relation can be constructed from it. This Q alpha stands for alpha is equal to 1 stands for x. So Q1 is x, Q2 is y, Q3 is z. Similarly, P1 is px, P2 is py, and P3 is pz. We have used alpha beta so as to avoid confusion with I. These are and this commutator relation also takes into account the uncertainty principle. It says that you can measure x and y simultaneously and precisely. Similarly, we can measure py, pz precisely and simultaneously, but we cannot measure x, px precisely and simultaneously, but we can measure x, py precisely and simultaneously. These informations are embedded in the basic commutator relation. Second postulate, we have so far we have stated about the operators. Now the state of a system is described by something which is called the wave function. In other words, the operator must operate on some operand, and this operand is called the wave function. The physical meaning of the wave function has been given through Born interpretation, that psi star psi dx gives you the probability of finding the particle between x and x plus dx at time t. Now, in quantum mechanics, the performing a measurement and non-performing of a measurement makes big difference, because uncertainty has to be included. So, some postulate must be made about the measurement. Whenever we perform a measurement of a variable A, then the system is dragged to one of the eigenstate of the system, and the eigenstate corresponds to the eigenvalue that we have obtained. Say for example, we perform the measurement of a quantity A. We have performed the measurement of a quantity A, which is the dynamical variable, and its eigenvalue is, it has a large number of eigenvalues. Say we find that it is lambda 5. So the fifth eigenvalue has been obtained. That means after the measurement, the system has been dragged to the state phi 5. And before the measurement was made, the system was in a superposition of state, and we have seen that if we make the superposition of state using the solutions of time independent Schrodinger equation, then the state is obtained is not an eigenstate of the time independent Schrodinger equation. On the other hand, if we make a superposition of state using the solution of time dependent Schrodinger equation, then the superposition of state is an eigenstate of the time dependent Schrodinger equation, and which we call as to represent the wave packet. In this connection, we must say that if we have a system comprising of one particle or many particles, then we must specify a number of commuting operators, minimum a number of commuting operators related to the system. The commuting operator means that the simultaneous and precise measurements of this operator are possible. That is, this quantity can be used to specify the state of the system. As for example, consider an electron within electron of an hydrogen atom. Then in non-relative, if we ignore spin, then there are three quantities: h, the Hamiltonian; L square, the square of the orbital angular momentum; and Lz, its square, the projection of L operator along z axis. They commute among themselves, and they describe the state of the electron through three quantum number n, L, and ml. These three operators are called the complete set of commuting operators, and the quantum numbers n, L, and ml are called the good quantum numbers. If we include spin of the electron, then this state is no longer a complete set. One has to add s square and sz together with it. That is, the complete set of commuting operators in this case will be h, L square, Lz, s square, and sz, and the corresponding quantum number n, L, ml, s, ms. They are the good quantum numbers. Earlier case, this part was not there, in absence of spin. Now, if we perform a measurement on a system which is already in one of the eigenstate of the system, then in the earlier class we have shown that there is no uncertainty involved in the measurement. That is, whenever a measurement is performed on a system which is already in one of the eigenstate of the observer of the dynamical variable, there is no uncertainty and the quantity can be measured accurately. But in quantum mechanics, we should not speak of a single system. Rather, we mentally prepare a large number of identical systems and which do not interact among themselves, which we call statistical ensemble or the ensemble. And if we perform a measurement on a large number of elements of this ensemble, then what we get is an average over the ensemble. That is called the ensemble average. If we perform measurement on a macroscopic scale, what we get is the ensemble average, which we call expectation value in quantum mechanics, and it is defined by this relation. It is note that the expectation, in calculating expectation value, the spatial variable has been integrated out, then the expectation value is still a function of time. Now come to the time evolution. What will be the state of the system or fate of the system as the time passes by? The time evolution is basically governed by the time-dependent Schrödinger equation. There are two postulates. One is the conservation of probability, that if we make a superposition of state using the solution of time-independent Schrödinger equation, then this is the superposition of state, and its normality condition shows that sum over Ci square is unity. That is, indeed, Ci is the probability, C5 modular square is the probability of finding the system in the state phi is equal to 5, and on the other hand we make another superposition of state using the solution of time dependent Schrödinger equation. Still we get C modulus this C modulus square, summation of a C modulus square is 1, that is the probability remains unchanged. This is one postulate. And the time evolution, if we want to find out the time evolution in terms of a dynamical variable, yesterday in the last class we have derived Heisenberg equation of motion. This describes the time development of a dynamical variable. Finally, we come to system involving identical particles. In classical mechanics, one assumes that one can identify the particles. Even if we have a system of molecules, then classical mechanics assumes that we can number the molecules 1, 2, etc., so that they are distinguishable. But in quantum mechanics, assumes that these particles are not distinguishable, they are identical. We cannot say which molecule, the molecule that we have grabbed, whether it is the number 5 molecule or number 37 molecule. It is not possible in quantum mechanics. So to say, quantum mechanics deals with identical particles. There are two types of identical particles. One is the fermionic system. Fermions are the elementary particles like electron, proton, neutrons. And we know that the fermion, or specifically we know that the electron obeys Pauli's exclusion principle. In fact, all the fermion obeys this Pauli's exclusion principle. So if we consider a system comprising of a large number of fermions, then the total wave function must be antisymmetric with respect to the change of space and spin variables. That is, if we interchange the position and spin variable of one particle with that of other, a minus sign will be introduced in the wave function. And even number of interchange leaves the wave function same. And if we assign the same quantum number to two particles, then the wave function will be 0, which is very elegantly taken care of through Slater determinants. There are boson systems. Bosons, the bosons are the particles which have integral spins, and they are generally the mediators of interaction, like photons, W and Z bosons. They are the boson particles. There is no exclusion principle, and the wave function has to be symmetric. Since there is no exclusion principle, a large number of boson can sit together in the same state, which leads to the BEC. In the BEC is obtained in the atoms which have an even number of fermions. So if we have even number of fermions, the system as a whole behaves as a boson. That's why the BEC is obtained. That's all were the postulates of quantum mechanics. Once again, I remind that none of these postulates could be proved directly, but the validity of these postulates or assumption lies in the correctness of the theory when compared with the experiments.